The stars looked different from this part of the galaxy. Commander Do-hyun stood on the observation deck of the Eternal Prosperity, watching the small blue-green planet grow larger on the main screen. Earth, they called it. Such a simple name for what might become the newest addition to the galactic hegemony. "Commander, we're receiving unusual signal patterns from their orbital stations," said Science Officer Yoon-ji, her four-fingered hands moving quickly across the control panel. "Their technology is inconsistent." Do-hyun turned away from the view. At 7 feet tall with pale blue skin, he towered over most of his crew. "Explain." "Their space technology is primitive. They've barely reached their own moon. But their information systems and weapons technology are advancing at an alarming rate." Yoon-ji's eyes narrowed. "It doesn't follow the normal pattern of development we've seen in other species." Do-hyun smiled. After 12 generations of bringing new worlds into the hegemony, they had seen everything. Every species has its quirks. What else? They call themselves humans. They're divided into nations but have a central authority called the United Earth Coalition. And Yoon-ji paused, checking her readings again. "They seem to know we're here." That was unusual. The Eternal Prosperity's cloaking technology should have hidden them completely. Do-hyun felt a small twinge of interest. Perhaps this wouldn't be as boring as the last 3 planetary acquisitions. "Open a channel. Let's say hello." Director Ha-jun of the United Earth Coalition straightened his dark blue tie as the alien transmission came through. His face remained calm, betraying none of the excitement or fear that gripped the rest of the command center. 20 years running Earth's largest defense corporation had taught him to keep his emotions hidden behind a mask of professional courtesy. "They're making contact, sir," said his assistant. "Put them on the main screen," Ha-jun said, buttoning his suit jacket. "And make sure all recording systems are active. I want every detail cataloged." The massive screen at the front of the room flickered and then filled with the image of a blue-skinned alien. The command center fell silent. "Greetings, people of Earth. I am Commander Do-hyun of the Galactic Hegemony. We come in peace and wish to welcome your world into our alliance of planets." Ha-jun studied the alien commander. The strange name, clearly a phonetic approximation for Earth communication systems, couldn't hide the confidence in the alien's posture. This wasn't first contact, this was assessment. "Commander Do-hyun, I am Director Ha-jun of the United Earth Coalition. We are honored by your visit and look forward to learning more about the galactic hegemony." Ha-jun bowed slightly, the perfect picture of respectful diplomacy. "Perhaps we could arrange a face-to-face meeting to discuss potential relations between our worlds." The alien commander seemed surprised by the calm response. "Good. Let them underestimate humanity. It wouldn't be the first time." 3 days later, Commander Do-hyun sat across from Director Ha-jun in the Earth Coalition's orbital meeting facility. The human facility was crude compared to hegemony standards, but Do-hyun had to admit it was impressive for such a young species. "Your adaptation to our environmental needs was extremely quick," Do-hyun said, breathing comfortably in the adjusted atmosphere of the meeting room. Ha-jun smiled. "We pride ourselves on addressing the needs of our guests. It's good business." "Business?" The translation matrix struggled with the concept. "Commerce, exchange, the foundation of human civilization," Ha-jun explained, his dark suit perfectly pressed, not a wrinkle visible. "We have much to offer the hegemony." Do-hyun almost laughed. These humans had no idea of their place in the galaxy. The hegemony didn't negotiate with primitive planets. They absorbed them. But protocol demanded a proper assessment period before the domination fleet arrived. "I'm curious about your military structure," Do-hyun said, changing the subject. "Most developing worlds unite their forces under a single command." Ha-jun's expression didn't change. "Earth's defense is complex. We have traditional military forces, but our true strength lies in cooperation between private enterprise and government agencies." Science Officer Yoon-ji, who had been quietly analyzing the human leader, spoke up. "We've observed your broadcasts. Your most feared warriors don't wear battle armor. They wear." She referenced her data pad. "Business suits, like you're wearing now." For the first time, Ha-Jun's smile seemed genuine. An interesting observation. In human culture, those who control resources often have more power than those who command weapons. Do-hyun made a note to include this cultural quirk in his report. The humans had strange ideas, but they seemed peaceful enough. Their technology would be useful to the hegemony once properly developed under proper guidance. Later that night, after the aliens returned to their ship, Ha-Jun met with his inner circle in a secure underground facility, 200 meters below the official government buildings. "Assessment?" he asked, looking at the 5 men and women seated around the table. All wore similar dark suits, the uniform of Earth's true power players. "Their technology is centuries ahead of ours," said Chief Engineer Tae-hee, scrolling through data on her tablet. "Especially their propulsion systems and energy weapons. But their encryption is primitive," added Jun-ho, head of cyber operations. "We've already breached their lower-level communications. They're not here for friendship." Ha-Jun nodded. He had expected nothing less. "Timeline?" Intelligence Director Sung-min adjusted his glasses. "Based on their communications, they're gathering information for a larger force. I estimate 6 months before they return with what they call a domination fleet." The room fell silent as they absorbed this information. Humanity's first contact with alien life, and it was an empire looking to conquer. "Then we have 6 months to prepare," Ha-Jun said finally. "Activate Protocol Chimera. All corporate defense contractors move to Level 1 production. Military integration with private security forces begins immediately." He looked at each face around the table. "And most importantly, maintain diplomatic pleasantries. Let them think we're simple, peaceful, and easily controlled." "They seem particularly confused by our business structure," noted Tae-hee. "They can't understand why our most powerful people wear suits instead of military uniforms." Ha-Jun smiled thinly. "Then let's use that confusion to our advantage. After all, the best predators never look dangerous until it's too late." As the meeting ended, Ha-Jun remained alone in the room, staring at the preliminary designs for weapon systems that would incorporate the alien technology they were already reverse engineering. The hegemony had made a critical error in judgment. They saw Earth's business suits and thought they'd found sheep to be herded. They hadn't recognized the wolves. On the Eternal Prosperity, Commander Do-hyun finalized his report to Hegemony Central. Earth presents minimal security concerns. Technology level, Class 3. Military capability, limited. Resistance potential, low. Recommended approach, standard integration protocol with minimal force display. He sent the transmission, then turned to Yoon-ji. "Set course for the rendezvous point. Our work here is done." As the ship pulled away from Earth orbit, Do-hyun felt satisfaction in another successful assessment mission. These humans would make a useful addition to the hegemony. Their strange business-suited leaders seemed reasonable and peaceful. The integration would be smooth and efficient. It was the last time Do-hyun would be so completely wrong about anything. 6 months passed quickly on Earth. 6 months of preparing, 6 months of planning, 6 months of waiting. Director Ha-Jun stood at the window of his office, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and red. The view from the United Earth Coalition headquarters was normally peaceful. Today it felt like watching a clock count down to 0. "They're here," said Intelligence Director Sung-min, entering the room without knocking. 17 ships just appeared at the edge of our solar system. Ha-Jun nodded, not turning from the window. "Size?" "The main vessel is approximately 12 kilometers long. The others range from 2 to 5 kilometers. Sung-min placed a tablet on the desk. "Much bigger than the scout ship." Now Ha-Jun turned, straightening his dark gray tie. "And our preparations?" "Complete. The corporate defense network is operational. All military forces are on standby but hidden, as ordered. Orbital platforms are masked as commercial satellites." Sung-min's face showed no emotion, but his knuckles were white as he gripped the edge of the desk. "We're as ready as we can be." "Good." Ha-Jun checked his reflection in the glass, adjusting his suit jacket. "Perfect and precise, just as humanity needed to be in the coming hours." "Send the welcome message." Invite them to meet with our delegation in orbit. You still plan to go up there personally? Hajun smiled slightly. Of course. It's only polite. To greet our visitors. His smile faded. And I want to see their faces when they realize their mistake. Admiral Ji-wan watched the approaching Earth shuttle with mild amusement. These humans were certainly accommodating, sending a delegation so quickly after the domination fleet's arrival. Perhaps Commander Do-hyun had been right about their peaceful nature. The human vessel has docked, Admiral, reported the navigation officer. Good. Prepare the integration chamber. Ji-wan straightened her uniform. First impressions were important, even with species destined for servitude. The humans that entered the chamber looked exactly like the images from Do-hyun's report. Small, pink creatures dressed in nearly identical dark garments. Their leader, Hajun, walked with confidence unusual for a primitive facing a superior force. Director Hajun, Ji-wan said, not bothering with a formal greeting. I am Admiral Ji-wan of the Galactic Hegemony's domination fleet. Hajun bowed slightly. Admiral, welcome to Earth's solar system. We've prepared accommodations if your crew wishes to visit our planet. Ji-wan found the offer vaguely insulting, as if her warriors would want to visit this backwater world for pleasure. That won't be necessary, she said coldly. I'll be direct. Earth has been selected for incorporation into the hegemony. Your technological and biological resources will serve the greater galactic community. In return, you'll receive protection and limited self-governance. Hajun and the other humans in business suits showed no reaction, no fear, no anger, just calm attention. I understand, Hajun said finally. This is a significant development for Earth. We request 48 hours to inform our population and prepare for the transition. Ji-wan frowned. Normally, primitive planets either resisted immediately or accepted their fate with gratitude. This measured response was unusual. 24 hours, she countered. No more. Hajun nodded. We accept your terms, Admiral. We'll return with our formal response tomorrow. As the humans departed, Ji-wan turned to her second-in-command. Monitor their planet. If they attempt any military preparation, we'll begin the subjugation protocols immediately. Yes, Admiral. Though our scans show their weapons are primitive, they pose no threat to our ships. Ji-wan stared at the doorway where the humans had exited. Something about them bothers me. Those identical dark coverings they wear. Commander Do-hyun mentioned them in his report. Business suits, they call them. Perhaps it's their version of a uniform? Perhaps. Ji-wan shook her head. Or perhaps it's something else entirely. Back on Earth, Hajun convened an emergency meeting in the deepest level of the coalition headquarters. 20 men and women in business suits sat around a large table, faces illuminated by the glow of digital displays. The hegemony fleet is exactly as our intelligence predicted, Hajun said, bringing up a holographic display of the alien ships. Their admiral gave us 24 hours to surrender. Their sensors have been scanning our military installations, said Defense Minister Yuna. But they're ignoring our commercial satellites and corporate facilities, just as you predicted. Hajun smiled. They see what they expect to see. A divided planet with traditional military forces. They don't understand our true power structure. He turned to Chief Engineer Tae-hee. Status of Project Prometheus? Tae-hee adjusted her glasses. The prototypes are ready. We've installed them on all designated platforms, based on the alien technology we reverse-engineered. They should penetrate hegemony shields. Communications? Hajun asked, turning to another suited figure. We can disable their internal communications for approximately 6 minutes before their systems adapt, answered Jun-ho. It should be enough time for the first strike. Hajun nodded, looking around the table at Earth's real power players. Not elected officials, not traditional military leaders, but the CEOs, directors, and chief engineers of the world's largest corporations. People who had spent their lives conquering markets and crushing competition. Tomorrow we return to their ship, he said quietly. We offer our terms, not theirs. When they refuse, we activate the defense grid. All corporations will follow the contingency plans we've established. He checked his watch. You have 12 hours to finalize preparations. Dismissed. As the room emptied, Sung Min remained behind. They're watching our military bases, he said. They've already positioned weapons to target them. Good, replied Ha-jun. Let them watch the soldiers. Meanwhile, the real weapons are being deployed by people in business suits. He straightened his tie. The hegemony is about to learn a painful lesson about humanity. Admiral Ji-won noticed unusual energy readings from Earth almost immediately. Small fluctuations in their orbital platforms, movement of ships between continents, increased communication traffic. They're preparing for something, she told her command staff. But our sensors show no major military mobilization. Perhaps it's civilian panic, suggested her second-in-command. News of our arrival spreading? Perhaps. Ji-won wasn't convinced. Keep all weapon systems on high alert. I want constant monitoring of— Admiral, called the sensor officer. The human delegation is requesting permission to dock. They're returning early. Ji-won frowned. Less than 10 hours had passed. Grant permission. Prepare the integration chamber. When Ha-jun and his delegation arrived, Ji-won was waiting with a full contingent of warriors. The human appeared as calm as before, carrying a small case. Admiral Ji-won, Ha-jun said with a slight bow. We've come with our response to your proposal. Ji-won gestured impatiently. Then present it. Has Earth accepted the hegemony's generous terms? Ha-jun opened the case and removed a document. We have a counter-proposal. Earth will establish trade relations with the hegemony as equals. We'll share certain technologies and resources in exchange for access to interstellar travel capabilities. Ji-won stared in disbelief, then laughed. You misunderstand your position, human. This isn't a negotiation. That's unfortunate. Ha-jun returned the document to his case. Then we must respectfully decline your offer of incorporation. Decline? Ji-won stepped forward. You have no choice. If you resist, we'll destroy your military installations and force your surrender. Ha-jun simply nodded. We understand your position. We'll be taking our leave now. As the humans turned to leave, Ji-won felt a surge of anger. Stop them, they'll return when the bombardment begins. But before her warriors could move, alarm signals blared throughout the ship. Admiral, shouted the sensor officer. Energy spikes, detected across Earth's surface and orbit. They're activating hidden weapon systems. Ji-won rushed to the command center as the human delegation calmly continued toward their shuttle. The first attack was moments away, and she suddenly realized she had gravely underestimated the killers in business suits. Admiral Ji-won watched in horror as her main view screen filled with alerts. Hundreds of energy signatures suddenly appeared around Earth's orbit. The supposedly primitive world had concealed weapons platforms inside what appeared to be ordinary commercial satellites. Launch first strike vessels, she commanded. Target their major military installations. The command crew scrambled to comply, but confusion spread across their faces. Admiral, said the weapons officer, targeting systems are malfunctioning. We're getting interference across all frequencies. Ji-won slammed her fist on the control panel. Impossible. Their technology is too primitive to affect our systems. At that moment, the ship shuddered violently. Warning lights flashed throughout the command center. Hull breach in Section 4, shouted the damage control officer. Unknown weapon type. It went straight through our shields. Ji-won couldn't believe what she was hearing. The hegemony's shield technology was the most advanced in the known galaxy. No primitive species should be able to penetrate it, especially not on first contact. Give me visual on the attacking vessels, she demanded. The screen shifted to show Earth's orbital weapons platforms emerging from their disguised states. What had appeared to be solar panels and communication arrays transformed into weapon systems unlike anything in the hegemony database. Send the alert to all ships, Ji-won ordered. Defensive Formation Alpha. Prepare all weapons. But it was already too late for 3 of the smaller hegemony vessels. They erupted in flames as Earth's hidden weapons found their marks with terrifying accuracy. In his shuttle returning to Earth, Director Ha-jun received the battle updates with calm satisfaction. The first phase of Protocol Prometheus was proceeding exactly as planned. Sir, said his pilot, The hegemony flagship is attempting to organize a counterattack. Ha-Jun nodded. Initiate communication disruption now. Sungmin, seated beside him, pressed a series of commands on his tablet. Disruption active. Their internal communications will be scrambled for approximately 6 minutes. Ha-Jun turned to Chief Engineer Tae-hee. Activate the second wave. She nodded, her fingers dancing across her own control panel. Done. Lunar base weapons are now online, targeting their command vessels. The business-suited leaders watched through the shuttle viewports as new energy beams lanced out from Earth's moon, striking the largest alien ships with precision. They never bothered to scan the dark side of the moon, Sungmin said with a thin smile. Too focused on Earth itself. Ha-Jun straightened his tie, a habit when things were going well. Their arrogance is their weakness. They saw our traditional military forces and assumed that was the extent of our defense capability. They don't understand Earth's corporate structure, Tae-hee added. They have no concept of how quickly our private military contractors can develop and deploy new weapons. Ha-Jun watched as another hegemony vessel erupted in flames. What they fail to grasp is that on Earth, the deadliest predators don't wear uniforms. They wear business suits. On the hegemony flagship, chaos reigned. Internal communications remained scrambled, forcing command staff to physically run between sections carrying orders. Get me Chief Engineer Dae-sik, Admiral Ji-won shouted to a runner. I need to know how these humans are penetrating our shields. While waiting, she studied the battle displays with increasing concern. Already 5 ships had been lost, with 7 more reporting critical damage. The humans were targeting command vessels with uncanny accuracy. Chief Engineer Dae-sik arrived minutes later, breathless and confused. Admiral, I've analyzed their weapons. They're using our own shield frequencies against us. Ji-won stared at him. That's impossible. They couldn't have that information. They do, Dae-sik insisted. The weapons are precisely calibrated to our shield harmonics, and there's more. They're using variations of our own technology, but with modifications we've never seen. How? Ji-won demanded. How could they have learned our technology so quickly? Dae-sik looked genuinely frightened. I don't know. It's as if they took one look at our systems during first contact and immediately understood not just how they work, but how to improve them. A new explosion rocked the ship. Ji-won grabbed a console to steady herself. Retreat, she said quietly, then with more force. Order all ships to retreat. Fall back to the outer system. Deep beneath the surface of Earth in a corporate bunker belonging to Global Defense Industries, Hyun-woo watched the battle unfold on massive screens. As CEO of Earth's largest weapons manufacturer, he had spent the last 6 months leading the development of countermeasures against alien technology. The hegemony ships are retreating, reported his operations director. Shall we pursue? No, Hyun-woo said, adjusting his gold cufflinks. Let them run. We've made our point. He turned to the room full of engineers and military strategists, all dressed in similar dark business attire. Begin Phase 3. I want all captured alien technology analyzed immediately. Priority on their propulsion systems and communication arrays. Sir, said one of the younger engineers, we've already reverse-engineered their basic shield technology. Production can begin within weeks. Hyun-woo nodded with satisfaction. 6 months ago, no one on Earth had known aliens existed. Now they were already adapting alien technology for human use. What about the prisoners? Asked the security chief. Treat them well, Hyun-woo ordered. They're valuable sources of information. The security chief looked surprised. Even after they tried to conquer us. Hyun-woo straightened his tie, a gesture he'd learned from Director Ha-Jun. This isn't about revenge, it's about business. Those aliens represent the greatest market expansion opportunity in human history. Admiral Ji-won gathered her remaining command staff in the emergency briefing room. Half the domination fleet had been destroyed or disabled. The rest had retreated to the edge of the solar system to regroup. I need answers, she said, her voice dangerously quiet. How did a primitive species manage to defeat the hegemony's finest ships? No one spoke for a moment, then her intelligence officer cleared his throat. "Admiral, I've been analyzing their attack pattern. It wasn't random. They targeted our command ships first, then our communication relays, then our heavy weapons platforms. They knew exactly where to hit us." "Are you suggesting they had inside information?" Ji-won asked. "No, Admiral. I'm suggesting they studied us. During first contact, they were analyzing our weaknesses while we were dismissing theirs." The chief engineer spoke up. "And their adaptation rate is unprecedented. They've somehow taken our technology and improved upon it in just 6 months." Ji-won stared out the viewport at the distant blue planet. "Those humans in their business suits, they weren't diplomats or politicians, were they?" Her intelligence officer shook his head. "No, Admiral. Based on our latest analysis, they were what humans call corporate executives, leaders of their weapons development organizations and defense contractors. Their most dangerous warriors," Ji-won whispered, finally understanding. "And we never saw them coming because they don't look like warriors, they look like business people," finished her officer. "On Earth, it seems the most dangerous predators don't announce themselves with uniforms or titles. They hide in plain sight wearing business suits." Ji-won turned to her communications officer. "Send a message to Hegemony Central. The situation has changed. Earth is not what we thought." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "And tell them to send reinforcements. The humans are far more dangerous than we ever imagined." 1 month after the first battle, the Hegemony reinforcements arrived. Supreme Commander Min-ho personally led the largest battle fleet assembled in 50 years, over 100 warships, including 3 Planet Killer-class dreadnoughts. From the command bridge of his flagship, Min-ho studied the reports of the first encounter with Earth. The defeat was embarrassing. Half a fleet lost to a supposedly primitive world. "Supreme Commander," said his aide, "all ships are in position. The human planet is surrounded." Min-ho nodded, his expression cold. In 17 previous campaigns, he had never failed to subjugate a target world. Earth would not be his first defeat. "Send them our terms," he ordered. "Complete surrender or complete destruction. No negotiations." The message was transmitted toward Earth, where Director Ha-jun and the United Earth Coalition were already waiting. In the Coalition headquarters, Ha-jun read the Hegemony's message with a slight smile. Next to him, Intelligence Director Sung-min seemed less confident. "They've brought planet killers," Sung-min said quietly. "Those ships can crack Earth's crust." Ha-jun adjusted his dark blue tie. "Did you expect them to give up after one defeat?" "No, but the Hegemony is predictable. They follow the same pattern with every world they conquer." Ha-jun turned to the wall-size screen showing the positions of the alien fleet. "They're using standard encirclement tactics, just as the historical records we captured from their databases indicated." Sung-min frowned. "But we've never faced this many ships before." "Numbers alone don't win wars," Ha-jun replied. "Connect me with the corporate defense network. It's time for Phase 4. The screen changed to show a dozen men and women, all wearing business suits similar to Ha-jun's. The CEOs of Earth's largest technology and defense corporations looked back at him with determined expressions. "The Hegemony has returned as expected," Ha-jun said without preamble. "Activate all orbital platforms. Launch the new satellite network. And," he paused, making eye contact with each face on the screen, "release the prototype ships." Hyun-woo, the CEO of Global Defense Industries, raised an eyebrow. "The test flights were successful, but we haven't done a full combat trial." "There won't be a better opportunity," Ha-jun said firmly. "We know their tactics now. It's time to show them what Earth's corporate war machine can really do." Supreme Commander Min-ho waited impatiently for Earth's response. The humans had 1 hour to surrender before the bombardment would begin. "Supreme Commander," called his sensor officer, "we're detecting unusual energy readings from Earth's moon." Min-ho frowned. "Weapons?" "No, sir. It appears to be launch signatures." Before Min-ho could respond, his tactical officer shouted, "Ships! Human ships launching from concealed bases on the moon and in Earth's asteroid belt." The main view screen showed small, sleek vessels rising from hidden lunar craters. Unlike the bulky military ships the hegemony used, these were elegant and streamlined. They moved with impossible speed, accelerating toward the hegemony fleet. "How many?" Minho demanded. "Over 300, sir. And they're using our own drive technology." Minho stared in disbelief. The propulsion systems on those human ships were clearly based on hegemony designs, but somehow improved. They were faster, more maneuverable. "Impossible," he whispered. "They couldn't have developed that technology so quickly." But the evidence was undeniable. In just 1 month since the first battle, humans had not only studied alien technology, they had built ships that incorporated and improved upon it. "All vessels open fire," Minho ordered. "Destroy those human ships before they reach our formation." In his private office at Quantum Technologies Corporation, CEO Kang Dai watched the battle unfold via secure satellite feeds. As Earth's leading expert in computer systems, he had spent weeks analyzing alien technology. "The hegemony ships are targeting our decoys," reported his chief of operations. "The AI navigation systems are working perfectly." Kang Dai nodded in satisfaction. "And our electronic warfare suites? Active and effective. We're successfully jamming 70% of their targeting systems." On the screens, Earth's ships swarmed around the much larger hegemony vessels. The size difference was enormous. The smallest alien warship was larger than anything humans had built. But size didn't matter when you couldn't hit your target. "What about our boarding teams?" Kang Dai asked. His operations chief smiled. "Already deployed. First teams have successfully breached 3 hegemony cruisers." Kang Dai straightened his tie, pleased with how events were unfolding. Earth had never developed massive warships before this conflict. They hadn't needed to. Human warfare had evolved toward precision, speed, and intelligence rather than brute force. Now those same principles were being applied to space combat, with devastating effect. On board the hegemony flagship, alarms blared as human boarding craft attached themselves to the hull. Special forces teams, wearing lightweight combat suits rather than heavy armor, cut through the ship's outer shell with tools designed specifically for alien alloys. Supreme Commander Minho couldn't believe what was happening. His mighty fleet was being torn apart by ships that shouldn't exist and tactics no primitive species should know. "Sir," said his communications officer, "we've lost contact with the port battle group. 27 ships are not responding." "And the dreadnoughts?" Minho asked, dreading the answer. "The Eternal Dominance reports critical systems failure. The Sovereign Might is under heavy attack." Minho slammed his fist on the command console. This was supposed to be a simple subjugation mission. How could these humans, barely space-capable just months ago, be defeating the greatest military force in the galaxy? "Supreme Commander," shouted his security chief. "Intruders have breached the command level." The doors to the bridge exploded inward. Through the smoke stepped human soldiers, but not like any Minho had seen in intelligence reports. Instead of military uniforms, they wore dark suits with subtle armor plating. Each carried weapons that glowed with energy signatures similar to hegemony designs. Leading them was a tall human female who stepped forward, her business suit impeccable despite the battle. "Supreme Commander Minho," she said calmly. "I am Ji-yoon, Executive Director of Stellar Operations at Global Defense Industries. I'm here to discuss your surrender." Minho stared at her in shock. "Surrender? To a primitive species?" Ji-yoon smiled slightly. "Look around you, Commander. Your fleet is in disarray. Your flagship is captured, and your dreadnoughts are being disabled as we speak." "How?" Minho whispered. "How did you advance so quickly?" "You misunderstand," Ji-yoon replied, adjusting her suit cuffs. "We didn't suddenly advance. We've been preparing for this moment for generations. On Earth, we call it competitive advantage. Your military might is impressive, but Earth's corporate war machine is more efficient, more adaptable, and far more ruthless than you ever anticipated." She gestured to her team. "Your people see soldiers in uniforms as warriors. But on Earth, our deadliest predators have always worn business suits. We don't fight for glory or conquest. We fight for profit and survival. And that makes us far more dangerous than you ever imagined." As Minho was led away in restraints, he finally understood the report that had confused him earlier. The humans in business suits weren't diplomats or politicians. They were the architects of humanity's defense, corporate leaders who had turned alien invasion into a business opportunity and responded with terrifying efficiency. The hegemony had made a fatal error. They had judged Earth by its military capacity, never realizing that the true power lay in boardrooms, not battlefields. 3 months after the defeat of Supreme Commander Minho's fleet, the Galactic Hegemony Council gathered for an emergency session. The 12 members, each representing a different species, sat in stunned silence as Intelligence Director Sang-min presented his report on Earth. The human victory was not a fluke, Sang-min explained, displaying holographic images of Earth's rapidly expanding space fleet. In just 3 months since capturing our technology, they have built 47 deep space vessels. Their adaptation rate is unprecedented in galactic history. The council leader, a tall being with crystalline features, leaned forward. How is this possible? No species develops this quickly. Sang-min's expression remained grave. Humans have a unique social structure. Their corporate organizations combine resources, intelligence, and manufacturing capabilities in ways we've never seen before. They don't wait for central government approval. They move immediately when opportunity presents itself. You mean when profit presents itself? Corrected another council member. Precisely, Sang-min nodded. The humans call it capitalism. Their corporations compete against each other, driving innovation at rates that seem impossible to us. What would take the hegemony decades to develop, they accomplish in months. The council leader's crystal features darkened with concern. And what are they doing with our captured ships and crew? Sang-min touched his control panel, bringing up new images. This is perhaps most disturbing of all. They're not destroying our technology, they're improving it. And they're not executing our captured soldiers, they're learning from them. The images showed humans and hegemony prisoners working side by side in large facilities. The humans all wore variations of their business suits while the aliens looked confused but unharmed. They call this research and development, Sang-min explained. They're systematically analyzing every piece of our technology, finding weaknesses and making improvements. They've already enhanced our shield systems by 30% efficiency. To use against us? Asked a council member fearfully. No, Sang-min replied. To sell to us. A shocked murmur ran through the council chamber. On Earth, Director Hajun sat in his office reviewing the latest reports from the corporate space initiatives. Outside his window, the skyline of Seoul was changing rapidly. New construction rose everywhere as the world economy boomed with the influx of alien technology. The hegemony delegation has arrived in orbit, announced his assistant through the intercom. Their shuttle will reach the landing pad in 20 minutes. Hajun nodded, straightening his black tie. 3 months ago, Earth had faced extinction. Now they were preparing to dictate terms to the galaxy's largest power. Sang-min entered without knocking. The corporate representatives are assembled in the main conference room. Hyunwoo is insisting his company gets first rights to hegemony energy technology. Hajun smiled slightly. Some things never change. Even facing aliens, our corporate leaders still compete with each other. That's why we won, Sang-min pointed out. The hegemony couldn't understand a world where business leaders would fight harder than soldiers. Speaking of business, Hajun said, rising from his desk, let's not keep our new trading partners waiting. The hegemony delegation looked uncomfortable as they were led into the United Earth Coalition's main conference chamber. Unlike their previous visits, when they had arrived as conquerors, now they came as supplicants. Council leader Tai Jin, representing the hegemony leadership, stared in confusion at the gathering. Instead of political leaders or military commanders, the room was filled with humans in business suits, each with a small corporate logo on their identification badges. Director Hajun stepped forward. Council leader Tai Jin, welcome to Earth. Allow me to introduce the real power on our planet. These are the chief executives of our major technology, defense, and research corporations. Hajun gestured around the room. Hyun Woo, CEO of Global Defense Industries. Ji Yoon, whose pharmaceutical company has already found medical applications for your biological technology. Kang Dai, whose quantum computing firm is helping us understand faster-than-light communications. Tae Jin looked bewildered. These are your rulers? Not exactly, Ha-jun explained. On Earth, power is distributed. Governments provide framework, but corporations drive innovation and progress. It's messy and competitive, but extremely effective. We've noticed, Tae Jin said dryly. Your adaptation rate is disturbing. Ji-eun stepped forward, her business suit impeccably tailored. Disturbing or impressive, depending on your perspective. We prefer to see it as an opportunity for both our species. She activated a display showing modified hegemony technology. We've improved your shield harmonics by incorporating earth metals. We've enhanced your propulsion systems by 15%. And we've developed medical applications for your biotechnology that your scientists never considered. Tae Jin stared at the displays. Why show us these advancements? Aren't you concerned we'll use them against you? Hyun-woo laughed. Use them against us? We're hoping you'll buy them from us. This isn't just about defense, it's about commerce. The hegemony delegation exchanged confused looks. Ha-jun smiled. This is what you never understood about Earth. When you threatened us, we defended ourselves. But we always look beyond the battle to the opportunities that follow. You see us as a military threat. We see you as potential customers. Later, in a private meeting room, Ha-jun and Tae Jin finalized the peace agreement. The terms were unlike anything the hegemony had ever accepted. Earth would remain fully independent, with protected status. Human corporations would have trading, rights throughout hegemony space, and a cultural exchange program would begin immediately. There's one thing I still don't understand, Tae Jin said, signing the final document. Your species was barely space-capable when we found you. Now you're dictating terms to the galaxy's largest empire. How did you advance so quickly? Ha-jun contemplated the question. Necessity, partly. When threatened, humans become remarkably creative, but mostly it's our system. Our corporations constantly compete, constantly innovate. When your ships arrived, they didn't see a threat, they saw an opportunity. An opportunity. Tae Jin seemed confused. New technology, new markets, new worlds to trade with. Ha-jun straightened his tie. The business suit isn't just a uniform, council leader. It represents a mindset. We don't just fight wars, we transform challenges into profit. Tae Jin shook his head in amazement. The reports were right. Your most dangerous warriors, truly, are the ones in business suits. We don't see ourselves as warriors, Ha-jun corrected. We're entrepreneurs, inventors, builders. He smiled slightly. Which makes us far more dangerous than any soldier could ever be. 6 months after the peace treaty, the first human commercial vessels departed for hegemony space. Modified from captured alien designs but distinctly Earth-made, they carried trade goods, diplomats, and corporate representatives eager to expand into a market that spanned thousands of worlds. On the bridge of the lead ship, named Enterprise after ancient Earth trading vessels, Director Ha-jun watched as Earth grew smaller in the view screen. The hegemony representatives are still nervous about our expansion into their territory, reported Sung-min, who had joined the diplomatic mission. They keep asking if we plan to conquer their worlds. Ha-jun adjusted his cufflinks. They still don't understand us. Conquest is inefficient. Trade is profitable. They've never encountered capitalism before, Sung-min remarked. To them, warfare and commerce are separate activities. Their mistake, Ha-jun said as the ship's faster-than-light engines engaged. On Earth, business has always been a form of warfare, just with better clothing and fewer casualties. As the stars blurred around them, humanity took its first steps into the greater galaxy, not as conquerors but as traders, not with warships, but with corporate fleets, not led by generals, but by CEOs. The hegemony had finally learned why Earth's most dangerous killers wore business suits. It wasn't to hide their nature. It was to announce it to anyone who understood the real meaning of power. The galaxy would never be the same again.